Okay, this video is about investment problems so that you can do well on your test, get an A, that's the goal. So I'm going to work on these investment problems, keeping in mind that the format I'm going to follow is the amount invested and the interest earned. I'm going to be looking at those two categories and fill this all in. Okay, so here I have a total of $6,000 invested, so I know that's my total amount invested. So here's investment A, investment B, and my total. My total is $6,000. Tells me that part is at 8% and part is at 12%. So that means my first account I'm going to call the 8%, and my second account I'm going to call the 12%. X and Y are my variables I'm going to choose to use. So X stands for the money in the 8% account, and Y stands for the money in the 12% account. Keeping in mind that that money that I'm talking about is the amount invested, not the amount that the bank's paying me, but the amount I invest. And it tells me how much is invested at each rate if the annual interest, so this is a total interest, is $620. So here's my total. And I know the interest earned on the 8% account is 8% of however much money I put into the account. So 8% times X. The amount invested in the B account is 12 times the amount of money in there, 12Y. Since these are totals, I know that that means I have to do X plus Y equals 6,000, and 0.08X plus 0.12Y equals 620. Those are totals, so that's what my system looks like. Now to solve, I'm going to choose substitution. So I'm going to get Y by itself and make that 6,000 minus X. So then I multiply 0.08X plus 0.12 times 6,000 minus X, and that equals 620. Do the distribution. So X is 2,500. That's how much money was in the 8% account. And Y, if the total amount is 6,000, Y is 6,000 minus 2,500. So it's 3,500. Okay, let's look at the next one. Norman has a certain amount of money invested at 5% and 500 more than twice that amount at 7%. So I still have the amount invested and the interest earned. The question's asking me how much is invested at each rate. Since that's the question, that's going to tell me what my variables are. So my variables are how much money is in each account. So let's say X is the 5% account. That's how much money is in there. And Y is the money in the 7% account. So I'll call that X, that's Y. This is 5%, this is 7%. And now the interest earned is 0.05X, 0.07Y. I need to know, do I have a total? Does it tell me anywhere a total? Yes. The total interest is $187. So that goes down here with the interest earned. I don't know the total of money that he invested. But what I do know is that 500 more than twice that amount is invested at 7%. So that amount is referring to the money in the 5% account. So that means 500 more than twice the amount of money in the 5% account, that's X, is the amount of money in the 7% account. And my total interest is 0.05x plus 0.07y equals 187. Okay, I'm going to let you do the work on this one, but you should end up with $800 in the 5% account and $2,100 in the 7% account. You do the work, make sure you get those right answers. Number 3 tells me $8,000 is invested. So I've got the amount invested, the interest earned, account A, account B. You take a second, pause the video, and fill in the table. Okay, now that you've had a minute to think about it, let's go through what it should look like. $8,000 is invested. That's my total amount put in. Part of it's at 15%. The next part's at 12%. So that means my X stands for the money in the 15% account. And Y stands for the money in the 12% account. So X and Y. The annual income from the 15% account, so that means 0.15x, exceeds, that means it's bigger than, the income from the 12% account. So that means this 0.15x is bigger than the 0.12y. How much bigger is it? By $66. So this one is larger, so I take the large one equals the sum of two smaller. So there's one equation. My second equation is x plus y equals 8,000. So there is my system. Again, I'll let you do the work to solve it, but you should get that $3,800 in the 15% account and $4,200 in the 12% account. Okay, last one. James has 2 investment accounts. Again, take a minute, pause the video, and see if you can come up with the correct answer. Okay, now that you've taken a minute to look at that, let's fill in what we know. We know there's 2 investment accounts. One is 6%, one is 10%. We know that X is the amount in this one, X is the money in the 6% account, and Y is the money in the 10% account. And we know that he has $1,000 more in the 10% account than he has in the 6% account. That's talking about the amount invested. That's the money invested. So it's $1,000 more in the 10% account. That means this is the bigger account. And this one is the smaller account. So I'm going to do the same thing. $1,000 plus X equals Y. Y is the larger account. X is the smaller account. So if I add the 2 smaller numbers, I get the bigger number. And then it tells me the interest from the 10% account, well, that is 0.1y, exceeds the interest from the 6% account, that's 0.06x, by $260 each year. So the 10% account is the bigger one. The 2 smaller things are 0.06x and 260. Should look like that. I'm guessing that you would use substitution, right? Because the y is already by itself. And after you do that, you should realize that you have $4,000 in the 6% account and $5,000 in the 10% account. Okay? Notice the difference between these three problems. The first one gave me a total of both things. Gave me total invested, and it gave me total interest. The second problem gave me total interest, but gave me a comparison, so I was comparing the two accounts. The third one gave me a total invested, but then compared the interest. The interest was being compared in these two. And the fourth one gave me a comparison for both of them. The total was compared and the interest was compared. So that's how I get these different equations.